Welcome to the Teaching Journeys podcast, hosted by Dave Roberts. Humanity possesses a unique skill, the ability to pass knowledge from one generation to the next. This podcast embraces that ability, offering learning opportunities through conversations with extraordinary guests. Dave aims to leave a positive mark on individuals around the world. So before you dive into today's episode, please share this podcast with your network, including friends, family, and colleagues. And please consider leaving a rating or review. Your support makes all the difference.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Teaching Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Dave Roberts, and today it is my absolute pleasure to have as my guest Cecily Henderson. Cecily is a certified health coach practitioner, functional medicine educator, and researcher, passionately advocating for women's health and creating meaningful connections between professionals and clients worldwide. As the functional medicine director for breast implant illness, Hope for Healing, and founder of the Hope for Healing Network, she dedicates her work to supporting those who have experienced trauma and illness, helping them rediscover strength and healing. Through the Hope for Healing Network, Cecily provides a nurturing, empathic space for individuals navigating mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual challenges. Her platform supports trauma survivors, including those with breast implant illness and PTSD, offering tools, resources, and a compassionate community for healing. She believes in the transformative power of knowledge and unity. Through education, advocacy, and collaboration, Cecily continues to bridge the gap between patients and practitioners, empowering individuals and fostering impactful change in the healthcare and wellness landscape. And with that, Cecily, welcome to the Teaching Journeys podcast. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on the program today.
Thank you, Dave. I love listening to you read. The way that you read, it's so powerful, but a gentle spirit about it. And I want to deep dive when I hear you talk. And I think it's beautiful what you're doing on the Teaching Journeys. And I'm so grateful to be here.
I'm grateful to have you. And I probably could have gone another hour, Cecily, with your bio, with all of your accomplishments and the impact that you've had with women who have had challenges with breast implant illness. Trust me, audience, Cecily's full bio will be in the audience notes, or the episode notes, both on YouTube and on the audio podcast platforms that the Teaching Journeys podcast subscribes to. So we met on Facebook. I reached out to you. I think you invited me to join the Hope for Healing Network, which I did. We exchanged stories, and you had me on the Hope for Healing Network podcast, and we live streamed a conversation about my journey. And I found the work that you did with breast implant illness for females so inspiring, and your own journey with breast implant illness so inspiring, that I wanted to have you on the podcast. So that brings us to this point today.
And I appreciate it because even you said before I had talked about it, you had no idea what breast implant illness was. And a lot of people say that to me. They don't know. They've never heard of it. They didn't even know there was such a thing. So bringing this awareness to people, I think is very important because it is an epidemic. There are so many women that are sick, and we just need more advocacy out there for people to understand what is happening.
Yeah, and I think advocacy and committed advocacy from a variety of different sources is going to create awareness and is going to create action.
Absolutely. Because the medical community right now, they don't have any training on this particular illness. They have no ICD-11 code, and they just don't know what to do. And it's really difficult for these women to go in and say, hey, I think there's something wrong with my implants. And doctors say, well, we don't know what to do. And that right there is very mentally damaging to women because they feel hopeless and helpless.
Well, particularly with the amount of trust we place in the medical profession to solve our healthcare problems, when a group of physicians says we don't know where to start in terms of treating breast implant illness, that has to be very discouraging for those individuals who are dealing with it.
Absolutely. It is. I mean, I remember being very sick about a year after I had thyroid cancer. I went and got implants because I had lost a lot of weight. And, having a mom, nursing babies, I just felt like that was something that was important for my femininity. And I got implants. And about a year later, I started having these symptoms. I had arthritis symptoms, brain fog, dry eyes, dry mouth, rashes, different allergy symptoms. And I was like, what's going on with me? Something is not right. And I kept brushing it off. It's just the mom brain, or it's just me going through motherhood, all of those excuses, going to the doctors, them saying, well, it's just because you're working hard, you're taking care of your family. And it kept getting worse, which was very, very hard.
Tell us a little more about the etiology of breast implant illness. What are the causes and how common is it in the female population, Cecily?
Yeah, that is such a good question. And unfortunately, the FDA website that reports different breast implant illness symptoms, it's very underreported. About 10,000 people have reported through their physician that they have breast implant illness. However, there's 432 groups on Facebook right now, specifically and dedicated to helping women with breast implant illness. One of the groups has 1.4 million members. Another group has 47,000 members. And these are all women from all walks of life through the whole world that are experiencing breast implant illness symptoms. And this is just Facebook.
Yeah, you're not counting the other social media platforms. You're not counting any online sites that may be devoted to either information or education or online support groups, if there is such a thing for breast implant illness. So that it doesn't even count, that demographic.
Right, exactly. And the most difficult part is that because it's not recognized and surgeons are not coming forward and saying that there is a problem despite the research available. And I know that we've talked about this. I do a lot of research. I am a health educator and I'm working towards my PhD in clinical research because that's what I want to do. I want to be able to provide that research there. I belong to a nonprofit, Integrative Hope for Healing. We are focused on research and advocacy for breast implant illness and medical device harm for women. So, looking at all the research, the surgeons are not wanting to even acknowledge that there is research out there against breast implants because it's very lucrative. They make hundreds of thousands of dollars in kickbacks every year. And so it's difficult to get that medical community to back us up with breast implant illness. I've been able to do podcasts with doctors. Specifically, there's one, Henry Dijkman. He is a researcher in the Netherlands. He's done autopsies on women that had breast implants, specifically silicone breast implants. And he found there's silicone throughout the entire body in those autopsies. The women were very sick. And so he knows there is something not right because every implant, it doesn't matter if it's silicone, it doesn't matter if it's saline. That implant shell, which is made from dimethylsiloxane, is a silicone that is a very low molecular weight, and it does break down over time. It's not a matter of if, a matter of when this happens based on your genetic predispositions. And so it will go to the tissues. It will cause an autoimmune response. It will cause a connective tissue response. And that's why these women who have lupus or, fibromyalgia, they've been diagnosed with these other illnesses and they're not directly linked to the breast implants, which that's the whole problem. Because when I took my implants out, my symptoms resolved. I was able to heal within, it's been almost 5 years. And I am happy, healthy, normal. And it's a wonderful thing. And I want women to know that it's not just in your head or what you're experiencing is related. It's related to the breast implants. And that's why I'm trying to spread this word.
Yeah, and it makes a good deal of sense because the more solid and reputable and credible information we get out there, the more individuals are going to be informed, and women are going to be informed, and they're going to take the proper action. I know you mentioned, like getting breast implants, for femininity reasons. I know when we talk, there's other reasons that women will get breast implants. So would you educate my audience in terms of what those other reasons would be?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of women that have gone through a mastectomy or a double mastectomy will get breast implants. A lot of them are encouraged to get breast implants by their physicians. And so that is one of the number one thing I think a lot of women, why they get breast implants. Another reason is because a spouse or a partner wants them to get breast implants. And just because of the pressures of our society today. I got it because of I wanted to feel feminine after having cancer. And so that's another reason. I know that there's several reasons why women get breast implants, but the fact is we are being told there is nothing wrong, nothing that will harm us. We're being told that it's a lifetime device. We're being told that our symptoms, there's very rarely would anybody have any problems with their breast implants. And this is a complete and total lie. I'm sorry, I'll say it. This is not true. And women are being told that they won't have problems with breast implants.
Well, judging just by the number of women that you have in your Facebook groups alone, that would dispute any type of information coming out that breast implant illness is not a common problem. You could just dangle that statistics in front of individuals who are spreading, and let's call it what it is, misinformation about breast implant illness. You said it's a lucrative field for doctors. What does a typical breast implant surgery cost? That's from consultation right to the actual surgery.
Yeah, great questions. So usually a typical breast implant surgery will be about $5,000, like $5,000 to $7,000, and an hour for surgery. So, the surgeon can go back to back, have several surgeries in one day because it doesn't take very long to implant a breast implant. And here's the thing, is an explant to take out the breast implants. That's a 6 to 7 hour long surgery. And you will pay anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000 to get those implants removed. Most insurances will not cover it. You have to pay out of your pocket. It doesn't matter how sick you are, because it's not recognized in the medical community. You have to come up with it out of your pocket.
So I imagine some of the work you do with women is proactive in terms of educating them on the potential risks, the cost of the actual implant surgery, the cost to have them removed, and the fact that most insurances will not cover removal of implants. So my guess is that that's probably a lot of the proactive work that you do with women who are even considering getting a breast implant.
Yeah, absolutely. We are working right now and petitioning the different medical communities to please, we need an ICD-11 code. And we're really trying to stand up for that, because if we can get an ICD-11 code and have breast implant illness recognized, then more medical doctors can be trained, and more people will be able to understand that there is such a thing as breast implant illness.
Well, and also since, doctors diagnostically will, bill insurance companies any ICD-11 code or DSM-5 code that has breast implant illness will be recognized by insurance companies, and at least the individual who's requesting services can get some reimbursement for that. And they're not paying so much out of pocket other than a copay.
Yeah, exactly. Because I work with a lot of women who can't afford it, and they are sick in bed. I mean, they are debilitated. So I had a neurological condition that was caused by a breast implant rupture. I was paralyzed for 7 years on the left side of my body. It caused an illness called CIDP, chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy. The silicone passed the blood-brain barrier and ended up, like I said, paralyzing that left side. I didn't have function of that for 7 years. And it was debilitating as a mom, as a wife. I was trying to live my normal life, and it was not just debilitating, it was my mental health suffered from it. And no doctor could tell me what the cause of the CIDP. And it completely resolved after taking out my implants.
I can understand why it would affect your mental health because, when you're paralyzed, you lose functioning, and that in and of itself is a loss. It's a loss of the person that you once were, even if it's temporary. So it's going to result in a response that's very similar or aligned with grief, and certainly could result in depression, anxiety, and a variety of other mental health conditions. And I'm glad that once those implants were taken out, that you were able to recover full function.
Thank you. I feel very, very blessed to be able. I'm a grandmother, and I get to run around with my grandbabies now, which I didn't with my kids. There was part of their life I didn't get to do that. And it was heartbreaking. But now that I'm healed, I get to, go have fun with my grandbabies and enjoy doing what I'm doing in my advocacy work.
Well, as a grandfather myself, the nice thing about grandbabies is that we can spoil them, get them all riled up, and then give them back to their parents when here you go. That's the fun part about being a grandparent. Plus, I think the information that we got from our own parenting, I think we use that information to be better grandparents. And I've always said that all mistakes, all missteps are information that we can use to better ourselves anyway. So, but yeah, that's a joy about being a grandparent is that once we're done with them, here you go.
It's the best.
It is. And it's just a great category for both of us to be able to honor, I think. So, it's great. Now, I know you embraced functional medicine to heal your breast implant illness. What is functional medicine, and why do you believe it's a better alternative to treating breast implant illness than traditional Western medicine?
Well, functional medicine is basically root cause of disease. So we get down to the root cause. We don't just put that Band-Aid on. We don't utilize pharmaceuticals to help with the symptoms. We actually get to what is really happening in the body to cause these symptoms. And that's why I turned to functional medicine, because as I was sick, I was a psychology major, and I wanted to go get my PsyD. I actually had to drop out of school because I was having issues with my eyes, which was part of the breast implant illness. And the doctors told me, if you don't drop out of school, you're going to go blind. And that was so difficult. And I had to drop out of school. And I said, you know what? No doctor can figure out what's going on. I want to go down the functional medicine route. I want to find out what's going on with my body because nobody else is figuring this out. And so I ended up going to functional medicine school it took me about 10 years to get to where I'm at right now, just because of the paralyzation. It was very difficult, but I thought, well, I'm going to figure it out. Nobody else is going to do this for me. I've got to do it for myself. And in that process, I learned so much about functional medicine. So after I took out my implants, there were several layers. There was lots of phases and layers that I had to take because it's a very complex illness. It affects your microbiome. It affects your hormones. It affects your liver health, your kidneys. It affects all your tissues and your lymphatic system. It can affect your brain. There's so much that it can cause issues with your body that you have to take steps in order to heal from this. And about 5 years for women, and sometimes even longer.
And I like the fact that functional medicine deals with root cause and just not overt symptoms, because a lot of times, and I've seen this in my 33 years as a human service professional, there's been misdiagnosis done because the first step of differential diagnosis to rule out any type of mental or social or physical conditions that may be contributing to what's going on isn't done. And they just look at the symptoms and say, well, we either have depression, we have anxiety, when it really requires a deeper dive to take a look at context and take a look at what's going on physically, particularly if an individual didn't have any history of prior symptoms, either physical or mental health symptoms. You have to look at those root causes. Many times that gets overlooked. And when that happens, if misdiagnosis occurs, any treatment that's done as a result of that misdiagnosis isn't going to work. Any medication that's prescribed isn't going to be effective. So it's important, I think, that we get this right and we discover the root causes of any particular illness, whether it's physical or mental health related, and then be able to treat it appropriately.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the whole point, right? Root cause. If I would have, and it took me a little while through help, and I am, it doesn't matter what you believe to me. I am a woman of faith, and I do feel like I've been led and guided to understand and recognize that I had breast implant illness. But it took me a journey to get there and to finally realize what was going on, and then to move forward in action to get my implants out, because I went to my doctor. I said, please take some tests. She didn't know what to take. She had no idea. She'd never heard of breast implant illness. She's like, let's do a CT scan. Let's do a mammogram. Come to find out, when she gave me the test results and they were all normal, I wanted to cry. I remember sitting in my car just sobbing because I thought, what's wrong with me? I feel like I'm going crazy. I know that there's something wrong. I know there's something going on. I feel like it's my implants. And so I had to take a leap of faith. And I found a surgeon that really connected with me. And she's like, Cecily, I've never heard of breast implant illness, but we're going to prepare for the worst. I'm going to make an emergency plan. We're going to prepare for the worst. And so when I got into, getting surgery, I had those butterflies. I'm like second guessing myself again. What am I doing? Is this the right thing to do? Got into surgery. And as I woke up, I remember my husband and the doctor, the surgeon, talking a little bit frantically. I could hear my husband's voice. Come to find out, it was a 6-hour emergency procedure because I had the rupture in the right side and I had an infection in the other side that had been there since my surgery. So it had been growing for 14 and a half years. And that was what was causing me to have these problems and having the reactions to the silicone. So it was taking that leap of faith that, you know what, this is really what I feel like I'm is wrong. And then listening to my body and to my intuition.
Well, and also what was extremely helpful is you had a surgeon that was listening to your body and listening to your intuition and validating that by what she found and the actions that she took to help you heal.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a right and a wrong way to take out implants. And I want to make this very clear to the listeners. If you are suspecting, if you have any kind of autoimmune, if you have breast implants, you have autoimmune illness, you have any kind of connective tissue or joint pain, fibromyalgia, any kind of neuropathy or neurological issues, it could possibly be the cause from the breast implants.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to take out your implants in the correct way is really important because it has a capsule that's formed around the implant. That capsule can hold a lot of silicone, a lot of toxins, because the actual implant has manufacturing chemicals. It uses a platinum catalyst. The capsule that is formed around the breast implant, it holds those toxins. And if the surgeon takes out the implant but leaves the capsule in, you're not going to get better. And I've seen this time and time again where women are not getting better. So you have to do it the right way in order to heal completely.
Yeah, that's an important note to make to our audience, and particularly, my female listeners who may know somebody who is struggling with breast implant illness or may have symptoms of breast implant illness that were unbeknownst to them before this podcast, and at least now they can take some appropriate action or make some suggestions in terms of what their friends or what they themselves can do to address that. So I know you're a certified health coach practitioner and who helps women recover and thrive from breast implant illness. What strategies or techniques do you use to empower women to recover and thrive from this illness?
Yeah, there's many different steps. The first step really is to assess. I take a health history, and then based on that health history, we'll determine what type of functional labs to find out, where's your hormone levels? Where's your vitamin levels? Because most women will have nutritional deficiencies. Where's your microbiome? Do you have any pathogens? Do you have any stress? Where's your cortisol levels at? So we'll do functional lab testing because you don't want to guess I'm telling you, I've gone down that route and it doesn't work. You end up, it costs a lot more money to go down that route. So finding out first where all your levels are at is really important. And then based on those test results, we will move forward, whether it's a protocol of supplements, dietary changes, lifestyle changes, different things, food sensitivities. I do testing for that as well. So you know what foods to stay away from. If you have mast cell activation syndrome, which is most of the breast implant illness community will have mast cell. And so we have to be very, very cautious on that as well and taking it slowly, one step at a time, so that you don't have a Herxheimer reaction, which is that basically is you're going to feel like the flu. You're going to feel terrible every time you try to do a protocol. So it's very individually based because everybody's different genetically.
And that would make sense that there would be an individualized approach because our body chemistry is different, our genetic history is different. And, we have to tailor approaches that are going to be responsive and individualized to those person's needs, which is what coaching is about, what therapy is about. It's the client drives the bus, and we have to meet the client where they're at because they have the right to self-determine and they have the right to be treated with respect and dignity. And there's one thing that I wanted to mention. I believe there's a place for Western medicine, and I don't want the audience to think that I don't believe there's a place for it. But what Western medicine can address, functional medicine can, and vice versa. I believe an integrative approach where you can take the best of Western medicine and the best of functional medicine, I think is going to universally meet the healthcare needs of any woman, man, or child, or transgender individual that is looking for treatment. And I believe in integration and combining the best of different disciplines to meet the needs of individuals who are requesting services, whether it's for mental health services or for physical health services.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because I do believe in integration. I think we need to have Western medicine because then there wouldn't be surgical removal. We wouldn't have wonderful surgeons that helped me remove my implant and taking the steps to protect me from sepsis, right? From the silicone rupture. It's just, and then I had to be in the hospital for 3 weeks getting IV antibiotics going back and forth because of the slow growing infection that was going on inside my body that I had no idea. That's Western medicine. I needed that. And being able to integrate both Western and functional, I think it's such a powerful combination for healing.
I agree. Speaking of healing, tell our audience about the mission of your Facebook group, the Hope for Healing Network. How does that mission of the group align with your or support your work as a certified health coach?
I love talking about the Hope for Healing Network. It has the most amazing people in there. And the mission basically is for those people who are going through struggles, who don't, whether it's trauma, whether it's an illness, PTSD. I want them to come in and feel like they're not alone. I want them to have a safe space of people that have been through trials and struggles. And I know I was talking to you about this. I had a sweet lady who contacted me about a week ago, and she said, Cecily, thank you so much for what you're doing in the Hope for Healing Network, because I've been applying it to my life the last couple of months, and I'm starting to feel better. And I just want to tell you, and probably people don't tell you this, but I want to say thank you. And that meant the world to me that I'm doing exactly what I need to do. Because feeling alone, I was alone. I was in the 4-wall hospital walls. Every 6 weeks, I had to go to the hospital to get treatment so that my nervous system didn't shut down and prevent me from dying, because that's what was happening. And I was alone and I was frustrated. And I didn't want people to go through that.
And when we hear from a client or an individual who's requested our services that's satisfied, it gets us through even one of the worst days we may have. And it's just because we carry not only our own energy, but the energies of those that are struggling. And that can get to be frustrating, particularly when we don't see progress moving as quickly as we like to see it move. So when we get an acknowledgement from a client, that gets us through the most trying days that we have and reaffirms our purpose that we're doing what we need to be doing. And what I've kept over the years, I have a gratitude manila folder that I've kept, from notes from students, from individuals who I've worked with is in the addiction field, who requested services from me. And every time I'm having a bad day, I'll pull out one of those letters and I'll look, and it reaffirms my purpose in terms of what I need to be doing in this incarnation of myself.
Yeah, it's the most rewarding feeling when you know that somebody is feeling better. And because it's not about me,
Mhm.
it's about them feeling better. I and it's the best feeling in the world. And you're right, looking back, especially when I'm having a bad day, questioning, am I doing this? Am I really helping somebody? And then to have that happen, it is the best feeling because I think serving people is great. Serving ourselves is great too.
Mhm.
But when we connect together and collaborate together, that is the best feeling because it is helping me and serving me when I'm helping others feel better.
And I think when we question whether or not we're making a difference, that also tells me that we're also looking at continued growth opportunities for ourselves. So we want to continue to learn, to perfect our craft, to perfect our approaches with individuals. And I think the day we stop questioning whether or not we're making a difference is a day that we probably need to take our pulse and make sure we're still alive.
I love that. That's such a great point to think about it in that way. Okay, yeah. So if I'm questioning, it's growth. It's the growth mindset.
You're not satisfied with where you're at. You want to continue to get better at what you do. And I believe we're going to continue to grow and we're going to continue to learn until, we transition into our eternal existence. And the day that I personally stop acquiring my thirst for learning is the day I'll be checking my own pulse to make sure I'm still alive.
I love it. I love your points. I always bring up the best points.
Well, thank you, Cecily, and so do you, which is why I think we've hit it off as well as we have.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you doing this because it does teaching our stories to people and what we've learned so that other people can thrive or avoid things like breast
Mhm.
implants, avoid that circumstance because you don't want to get into that and then feel sick down the road a year or two later, not being able to take care of yourself or your family. That is truly a gift to be able to
Yep.
give people so that they don't make that same mistake.
And every story that we witness is a gift to us because that individual has trusted us with the most intimate journeys or stages of their lives and trust that we're going to honor it. We're going to bear witness to it with respect and with dignity, and we're not going to judge their path, only serve to understand their path.
Absolutely. And I love that in the Hope for Healing Network. I do share a lot of people's stories there, and it is changing lives.
Yes, you do. And you're tireless with that. I mean, every other time I turn around and share somebody's story and I ask, when does Cecily ever sleep?
I don't.
Yeah.
12-hour days, but you know what? Isn't it wonderful I can say that?
Hmm.
Because I used
Yeah.
to be so sick. I couldn't walk. I couldn't get up. I was always laying down and resting
Hmm.
because I was very, very sick. And
Yeah.
here I am doing 12-hour days, no problem, being a grandma and enjoying life.
And there's a lot to be said for that. And there's a lot to be said for showing gratitude as you do for being able to live a good quality life, given the challenges you've had to transcend.
Thank
So
you.
you're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
My pleasure. One of my last questions for you this evening, if there's one thing that you want to leave our listeners with today, what would that be, Cecily?
I want people to know whether you're a woman or a man or transgender, if you have breast implants or know somebody that has breast implants, please go look at some information. I have a nonprofit website and it's full of researched information about breast implants. And I recommend or suggest and challenge you to go to that website. It's breastimplantresearch.org. So breastimplantresearch.org. It's a very easy navigating website where you can look at a lot of different research. It'll show you FDA websites and it talks about breast implant illness cancers. It talks about the allergy response. It talks about the neurological and autoimmune responses. It gives you all the information where you can go directly to those studies. And it tells you about proper explanting, proper ways to remove, making sure that you have all that information for you to decide if something is going on or not. So please, I challenge you to do that. Take action. If you have symptoms, if you have issues, and even if you don't, go look it up, because there's a lot of good information there that you can show your doctor, or you can just look at it with a spouse or a partner or a family member so that you know you're not alone. I'm here for you. Please feel free to contact me if you're having any issues. I'd be very, very happy to connect with you and just have a chat about it, because I've been there.
Thank you, Cecily. And what would be the best way for people to get in touch with you if they wanted to find out more about your services, more about the Hope for Healing Network?
So I have a website that they can go to. It's healingisreal.org, healingisreal.org. And it has all the information up there. You can also join my Facebook group, which is the Hope for Healing Network. I would love to have you come on in. I'd love to chat or share your story. So that's probably the best way for people to get a hold of me. I mean, I do have a podcast. I have a YouTube channel, Breast Implant Illness. So if you do the @ symbol with YouTube, it's Breast Implant Illness. And that's my channel. I have a lot of really good information, podcasts with women talking about their symptoms, talking about what they're going through. And that's also a good resource.
Thank you, Cecily. And I'll make sure all of that gets in the episode notes on both YouTube and the audio platforms that the podcast is featured on. So thank you so much for a wonderful conversation today. You're a wonderful guest contributor, and I hope we can do this again in the future sometime.
Thank you, Dave. Well, thank you for what you're doing. You are so amazing. I'm the one that's blessed, because when we met, maybe 6 months ago, 5.5 months ago, your story was so compelling, and your heart, because your heart's right there on how you're helping people. And I appreciate what you're doing. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I think like-minded individuals tend to find each other.
I agree.
And with that, that is a wrap on another episode of the Teaching Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Dave Roberts, wishing you peace.